nursing professor that is present in our midst today. She is actually a nurse, a professor in nursing, but she resides in Canada. And she is one of us in the department. So it is not out of place that she comes home and she also does what we're doing locally. She's in the town, so we asked her to do her presentation on behalf of the nursing department because she's part of this department. So I'm going to read her citation. She is Dr. Josephine Etowa. She has PhD, registered nurse, registered midwife, a fellow of West African College of Nursing, a fellow of what's that? American, and a fellow of what again? Canadian Academy, and a fellow of okay, all of them are in addition, so I don't know what it is. And is a full professor and Canadian research chair, tier 1, in advancing black women's health at the University of Ottawa, Canada.
Yes. After the citation.
Okay. So her research focuses on health inequity, racism in healthcare, and the health of Black Canadian women and girls using transformative approaches such as intersectionality and community-based participatory action research. Dr. Etowa is the founder of the Go-Great Lab, which has secured over $50 million in funding. She has received numerous national and international awards, including the Order of Ottawa 2024, the Ron Draper Award for Health Promotion 2024, and the Canadian Science Policy Center Trailblazer Award 2021. Dr. Etowa has significantly contributed to global health through mentorship and research in Nigeria, and has held leadership roles, including co-chair of the Community Health Nurses National Standard Working Group. She was also appointed to the Royal Society of Canada's Task Force on COVID-19 Impact on Nursing. Here I present to you a full professor in nursing residing in Canada, Professor Josephine Etowa. Thank you.
To address Black women's health across Canada. It's a national agenda, developing a 10-year research agenda to advance the health of Black women in Canada. And so when I hear STEM, I'm thinking women, and I'm thinking Black women. And that is so important to look at. Not only our health, but how our careers are advancing in all fields, because that career advancement is one of those social determinants of health. So STEM, women in STEM advancing healthcare through research on social determinants of health. And next slide, please. And so I'll talk about the social determinants of health, which is so important, because as you know, health is our wealth. Health, we have to be healthy in order to do the many things that we do, whether it's education, whether it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we talk about the importance of STEM in addressing the significant health disparities we see in society today. And we also talk about the role of women in terms of addressing the family. Because as women, we are positioned in that critical intersection where science, society, and other things meet, the politics of science. In Canada, we do have actually a Center for Science and Policy Innovation, and that is the center that gave me the Innovation in Science and Policy Award in 2021, because of the way I work with communities to take evidence and actually act on it to influence policy. How can we take this science? How can we make our politicians respect science, use the science to inform their own evidence in terms of policy making and policy implementation? Next slide, please. That's
I think you need to
Just see most of my
you need to adjust the
writings off the
projector.
screen. You said you need to get
Is to adjust the projector. No ma, is to adjust the projector. To move the button. Is to adjust the projector.
Thank you. That's creativity, innovation. Thank you. I see. Thank you. So a social determinants of health, what are they? Those factors that significantly impact on an individual's health outcomes and are shaped by the conditions in which people are born, they live, they play, usually in our environment. We're not born with these things, which means these are things that are prevented. We're not born with them. We're not born with education. We're supposed to have an environment where girls and boys and men and women are given opportunity to have education. Gender and ethnic is one of those. Cultural context. These are all areas that impact on our health. We can actually make policies to make sure that those conditions can be more empowered to work with our population. So addressing the social determinants of health is key to solving health disparities in low resource countries like Nigeria and many others. But even in Canada, we have problems with social determinants because there are bad politics and bad policies that often lead to inadequate or inequities in how resources are allocated to communities, to disciplines. So, for all of you who are here in the different disciplines within a university, an academic setting like this, resources are distributed differently, and that impact on our health. Because if we have a healthy workplace, we don't have those resources. That is all part of those social content that shapes health and healthcare. When I use disparities and inequalities and inequities quite interchangeably in this context, even though when I talk about disparities, usually America and the US often use disparities more. We're talking differences. We haven't gotten into the reason behind those differences, so there are differences. The UK would normally talk about inequalities when they're talking about those differences. In Canada, we say inequities when we have assessed that the reason we have those differences are because of the unfair distribution of resources. There's a sense of justice, social justice, placed on that makes it to become inequities because we know the reason was whether in bad politics at the systemic level or even at the local, the social level, the bad decisions about or bad policies that have led to inequities in resource distribution. And so STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics research, is positioned as an essential vocation, especially at this time with the explosion of information around the world. Now, in this era, to do more, because you not only understand issues from the cellular level, the molecular level, which has always been there, but we now actually have an opportunity to take what in our different discipline we have examined from that molecular level, refining your discipline to get that. Now you need to go over to the next discipline to say, how can we collaborate? How can we manage this? Because when we're talking about STEM, it's not only about basic sciences or medicine or nursing. It's about social science. the policies of the day impact on what we do. And the time is now. When you think about what Donald Trump is doing in the US right now, CDC, like the Center for Disease Control, their fundings are being cut. That's where science is not done and not position with what's happening in politics, in policy. And so, as scientists, we have to understand our technical expertise about the molecular level issues. Then we have to by the politics and the policies of the day, the social context. We can separate the part of STEM. So when we're talking about technology, it's also about how we take the environment, use the information we have to integrate into the story of science. On that base, understanding the social determinants of health in terms of specific disease conditions, even in Nigeria, these are areas that we know the social determinants are 12 or 13 different factors that have been known since the early 2000s by many researchers, including Michael Moore from the UK, who's the group in social determinants of health. And we talk about these are just a few of them. I thought I highlighted in the short presentation we have today. I have to really try to make this presentation short to the point because I really didn't have much time for it. So economic stability, income, employment, poverty, then influence access to healthcare and health outcomes. Education is a key factor. Literacy rates. And when we talk literacy, it's not just literacy in terms of basic education, but it's also literacy in terms of health information. In the sea of information we have today out there, like when COVID came, other disease conditions, HIV is an area I studied over the last 10 years in Canada as well. I held a research specifically to address HIV among Black Americans. I finished that research before moving into this national research. And you can see the impact of literacy, health literacy, people not understanding the transmission process, or people just not knowing enough what to do, not recognizing that we now have actual drugs, even though HIV, we can't say there's a cure for it now, but people don't understand that it's just a chronic disease like diabetes and like high blood pressure. The stereotype around and stigma around HIV healthcare doesn't help people to get treatment, to get diagnosed, to get on medication. And they don't know that if you get on medication and stay on your medication, you can have viral dose suppression, which means you can no longer transmit HIV and you will pursue undetectable because untransmittable. And that means people living with HIV can even live longer than some of us who will go to the doctor regularly and engage. So when I'm talking literacy, I'm referring to that as well. People are using the knowledge around them to really make good decisions about their health. So healthcare access and quality. When I talk about, that's why I say we're talking about health and healthcare. When I talk about health outcomes, so those disparities, then the other parts that are helped us in the quality of healthcare. You actually make the effort to go to a healthcare facility and you don't get quality care. Well, that means your health is further compromised. And that is another whole area that we need to research and bring innovation, bring technology to make sure that people actually have access to good care. Healthcare is a whole department that further compromises the life. And we need all of the scientists to look at how you can be able to that will make it easier for people, even when we have public health crisis like the COVID-19 time. How can we reach people through telemedicine? How can we reach people through mobile devices? And that some of you here have helped to create. Neighborhood and belt environmental factors such as Again, access to clean water. Somebody talked about water, sanitation, housing, urbanization. They play a role in shaping health outcomes. So these are key areas that are really compromised as the social determinants of health. Next slide, please. And so the strong evidence facts across years that speak to these kinds of factors, the social determinants of health, having significant impact on our health behavior. And you can see the pathways through which they affect us, even just your ability to move around and be able to do the things you need to do to survive. Take your child to school, go to work. If you don't have the resources, if your employment is not paying you enough money to do those things, it can affect your mental state. You are stressed, and level of stress as it increases, then begins to have direct impact on your physical health. Whether it's your blood pressure going up, next your kidneys not functioning because those neurons are firing and trying to control that blood pressure. Next, you find yourself with diabetes and other kinds of things that comes in from mental health goes to physical health. And all of you, I'm sure, are doing those research to make those linkages and to help us bring it into the social world. Next slide. And so, what is the challenges this formatting has changed? I worked on the PowerPoint on Apple computer, moved into Microsoft, and it's like it just scattered it. But I think you can still see, right? Yeah. So we know the problem with maternal child health. We've been talking about this. We have military professors here, and people that have taught in this field. Nigeria is one of those areas where maternal mortality and morbidity has been a problem, whether it's related to not having enough skilled professionals to provide the direct and what is the evidence? How much data are we generating to monitor and track some of the conditions we see in maternal child health, whether it's antenatal, during intramatal, or postnatal? I mean, meanwhile, I cannot speak by myself. Infectious diseases, I just gave you the example of HIV, and it's a problem globally, especially for Black people. I'll give you some stats from Canada. In Canada, Black people, meaning we of African descent, whether from Nigeria or the UK or Africa itself, make up only 4.3% of the country's population. But when you go to look at people with HIV, consistently over the last 20 years, you make up more than 25%, more than a quarter of those new diagnosis of HIV. Why? We have medications. UN gave us this target of 95 rule that in 2030 they want to see 95% of those at risk of HIV tested, meaning they know their status. 95% of those who know their status, that means they've been diagnosed, would be on medication, and they have programs to make sure people get on medication. And 95% of those who are on medication will stay consistent with their medication, that they have viral load suppression and they cannot transmit the disease. You go check in Black communities where the most community will start. Not enough people have been invested for stigma in our communities. Like, you have HIV, why are you going to laugh at it? Right? And so, we're left behind. And what happens if the world is pumping resources, research dollars and others to study this, and then other people catch up, and they are getting tested where Black people who make up the significant portion of not getting tested. That becomes like a Black disease again. Because the rest of the world have moved on, they feel like they've met their target, but they didn't include us. And they can move on and fund other kinds of emergency, world emergency, public health crisis, and use the challenge to deal with. And so it's so important for us to raise awareness about some of these issues and how that affects us. Rural area, rural versus urban, of course we know the problem of rurality in Nigeria and many other developed countries, where resources are not enough to reach everyone. So geography becomes the social determinant of that, where you're physically located and have your access to other aspects. Okay, let's go. Okay, so tackling this require all of the scientists in this room. And remember again, I said when we're talking about scientists, we mean the basic scientists, we mean the social scientists, coming together to bring the creativity even in your arts into how we can reach some of these issues and use the cellular level research to inform social decisions, social policy. And so artificial intelligence, telemedicine, data analytics are all areas that work is being done to address the social determinants of work. Next slide, please. And so, again, I've talked about this era is particularly important for us to bring what we're calling STEM to make sure you're addressing both the social policies that are toxic to our health and toxic to advancement in science. Next slide, please. I just thought I'd highlight this. 6 Nigerian scientists were among the 400 scientists and engineers honored by President Joe Biden this year before he handed over power. And so you can see the six Nigerian scientists that were honored in that award. Out of this, next slide, please. Out of that 6, 50% were women. Nigerian lead global innovation. And I highlighted them here. One is in nuclear. You can see Dr. N. In nuclear engineering from University of California. Dr. Ijoma Okpara in public health, Department of Social and Behavioral Science. You can see Dr. and it looks like they represent different region of the country. If you notice the name, Dr. Eno Obon in chemical engineering. Look at her research. She's using the biomedical engineering to address cardiovascular health, bringing it to that. This is what I'm talking about. How do we work across these disciplines to design innovations to address these issues? So, I know we don't have time. I wanted to ask some of the innovations happening here at home, because we're doing this. Dr. Faith, Professor Yogu, who just left, during her PhD work in the UK, designed a vetting tool. What are the people in nursing? Designed a tool. What is it? Chair. The position women take during labor, she discovered was impeding the progress of labor, and designed the patent that is being used globally to advance. Yes, that's our innovation. The first midwifery professor in West Africa. Okay, so I know there are innovators amongst us here. But we have to celebrate each other. We can't wait for men or other people to come and celebrate us. So make sure whatever you put in the opportunity to celebrate one another, because it's part of what you showcase young people are doing. I'm actually very inspired to see these young women leading this organization. Yeah, next slide. I think they are about to kick me out of this stage. So I just want to mention that despite all of what women are doing, we do have challenges. There's still societal expectations that people demand. There's still resource limitation, not having enough money that people demand. And so we are not done yet. The work must continue. We must continue to fight, to have role models, to continue to mentor young ones coming so that they can secure more resources to support the kind of work you're doing. So we can continue to have young Nigerian scientists, women scientists globally doing this work. Next. Okay, I will just show you here that as we fight for these barriers that I just mentioned to be removed, we cannot focus on giving it on individual level. We give each person stool, little scholarship. We have to focus on moving the best. See that last one. So, if you focus on individual, you may not give everybody the scholarship they need. Those tools. See the first people that everyone is doing, only the third person is still sick because you already came from a family that have money. So if you give us more scholarship, you can go abroad. But the person from the village, the poor family, even if you give them that scholarship, they will not be able to take them abroad. So they will not get it. So that's one person's tool is normal. When you go back to even say, oh, I'll give the poor person from the village more money, still may not take them enough because they have other problems that they will have to cover. But when we talk about removing systemic barriers, this is the thing. Remove the fence that is blocking people. Remove the thing that is holding some people. Just provide opportunity for everyone to have the education they need, to be able to actualize their God-given talent and contribute to society. This last piece. So in your part, look at how you can remove the fence. I don't know what fence is blocking people in your organizations. I don't know what fence is blocking people in your community, in your village. But think about those and think about how you're scared to come and remove the fence. Next slide. And so in bridging that gap, I've mentioned some examples here of the things we do right from the government level, mentorship, policy options, what policies need to be made to support learning STEM, and the collaborations that need to happen with industry and academic institutions, and both internationally and globally. How do we take some of those global resources to also do the work we do? Next slide, please. Almost right. So we have a role to play through our mentorship, through our strong advocacy, through recognition of the excellence in women's STEM work, celebrating one another and showcasing our work. It cannot be an individual joy. Oh, I am so important and now the professor of family. It has to be our collective joy. How can I get more people standing here so that I'm not here to join? It's actually not a thing of pride to say, oh, I am the only professor of nursing. No, we should be more that are standing up here and speaking about these issues. So next slide. So that is, I thought I mentioned when the 6 Nigerians were among those people that received the award for President Biden of the United States. Our president in Nigeria recognized them and talked about how this is not only an individual achievement, but it's also an immense contribution of the Nigerian scientists to the global community. And we went on to just applaud them for their ability to excel as Nigerians globally. I said, well, that is a window of opportunity. Can you all come down and say, we need resources to do that here, even at home, in our institution. So I see it as a window of opportunity to use things like that even in the media to advocate for resources. Don't just talk about those who are making it abroad. Let's invest in invest here. Okay. Conclusion. Well, I think investing in women instead is an important aspect of the work that is done. And so, if we want sustainability in the effort you're making and all your labs that you're building to happen, we need to invest in women.